This is HBR News number 487. Blake Lively, Amber Heard 2.0, Trans Terror Cell, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope you are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you're not consumed by it. My name is Brian. I am here with Dr. Ranamercam. Hannah will be along, but she's running late because she has real life work stuff to do as well. But she will be coming as soon as she gets here. But that's neither here nor there. We have a great show lined up for you guys this week, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comments section. Today on HBR News, we actually kind of have a packed show. We're going to be discussing this whole Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni situation. It's very sordid and drama-ish and involves Ryan Reynolds and his brother. And it's just but so much is constantly coming out. But I think that we have to get in there because it looks like it's turning into another Amber Heard, Johnny Depp situation where maybe slightly less blood. But also we're going to be talking about Trump's first days in office and the sheer amount of stuff that's come out of that. A lot of it really good. I really haven't heard anything that's bad yet. So I don't know. This is like a winning on a level that I never thought I deserved. A bill that is being proposed that is going to protect babies from male genital mutilation and more. So stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So yesterday I did a show with Allison on her channel. She just wanted to do something light. This was her words. She's like, let's do something light. Let's look at this Neil Gaiman thing. And I was like, okay. And then it turned out to not be light at all. So it got pretty dark and sordid. But in
case anyone was wondering why we have Neil Gaiman's face on the screen right now and why we've had it there for the last 5 minutes. I mean, he's like Trump's face in his first and second inauguration photos. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's like both before and after the tragedy, and you can't really pick out the parts of his expression.
You know, if I was illustrating a fairy tale book with an old wise tree, it would have this face. That's what it would look like. He looks like a fairy tale person. That's probably why he writes fairy tales. But that's what I think. But yeah, I thought we would read this story, which is absolutely crazy, regarding the allegations against Neil Gaiman. And we'll do that as the patron show for the reactions. So, you know, if you've already seen it, like if you follow Allison, you saw it on her channel, then we're going to try and put a different spin on it. I mean, it was either this or Anthony Mackie's comments about America, which I don't really think is quite fitting for this show, although I do certainly have opinions on it. But yeah, like if you want to join us on the patron show, and we can talk about whatever else you guys want to talk about, it's usually pretty loose and casual in there, then please consider becoming a badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com and setting up a monthly subscription. It's feedthebadger.com/subscribe. To join us, you'll get access to the Discord server, watch all of the additional content, and you'll be able to participate in all of the various activities. They usually do game nights. For example, on Tuesdays, they'll play Cards Against Humanity or something along those lines. They also have movie nights and writers' rooms and all kinds of other stuff. So if you're like a creative person that wants to hang out with other creative people and you care about like men's issues, then please consider joining us. And if you just want to try it out, you can go to badgernation.online to check out the free parts of the Discord server. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we have been removed from the internet for wrongthink, then please go to honeybadgerradio.com or badgerfeed.com. That's where all of our content lives. All right. So with all that out of the way, let us get into the stories. All right, this first one is a lot of drama, but everybody's talking about it. And I feel like it needs the, our sort of touch to get into. So Blake Lively. All right. The woman pictured on the left. I don't know if you guys know who Blake Lively is, but she is an actress. I don't really know her from much. She's also Ryan Reynolds' wife. Ryan Reynolds is the actor who you probably know from the Mint Mobile commercials, and he also played Deadpool, I guess a couple times. And he was in Waiting. That's what I know him from. Van Wilder. Anyway, Blake Lively has accused Justin Baldoni, the gentleman on the right in the pink blazer, of sexual. What?
I did a video response to his TED talk.
Did he do a TED talk about toxic masculinity?
Yeah, it was along those lines. Yeah, yeah, January 2018, I think it was.
I remember.
I still remember. I always remember these fuck jokes.
Yes, I actually remember that too because I shared his video. It was going around like on one of those, viral video generating websites like Upworthy. Do you guys remember Upworthy and that stuff? Al Jazeera, So yeah, he was on one of the, I think it was an excerpt or another version of it. And so yes, Justin Baldoni. So Blake Lively,
he's a tall, handsome Adonis of a man. He doesn't understand why other men don't attract women's attention like he does.
Yeah, right.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. So they're both kind of B movie actors. They're not super well known. I did not know who this dude was until you mentioned that video. But unless that was acting. But I do think he's a true believer. He's a true feminist ally, or tries to be. Hence the pink blazer with the net shirt. But anyway, Blake Lively has accused Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment during the filming of a movie called It Ends With Us, which is a romantic film based on a novel. Specifically citing behavior during a slow dance scene. Lively alleged that Baldoni dragged his lips down her neck and made inappropriate comments about her scent, which she claims was not part of the script or character interaction. In response, Baldoni's legal team...
Maybe it was an aggressive scent.
Yeah.
Point of personal privilege. You can't just turn up with an aggressive scent.
Remember, they're acting, okay? They're playing a scene. So anyway, Lively alleged that Baldoni dragged his lips down her neck and made inappropriate comments about her scent, which she claims was not part of the script or character interaction. In response, Baldoni's legal team released unedited footage of the scene in question, arguing it shows professionalism and mutual respect, with both actors engaging in lighthearted conversation about their appearances, including Baldoni's beard and Lively's spray tan. The footage includes Baldoni saying, quote, "It smells good," end quote, to which Lively responds humorously, suggesting the comment was about her makeup rather than anything inappropriate. Lively's team, however, insists that the video corroborates her allegations, highlighting that the interactions were unscripted and without an intimacy coordinator, suggesting non-consensual conduct. Ryan Reynolds has been significantly involved in this controversy, not only as Lively's husband, but also in legal actions. He was present at a meeting convened to address Lively's concerns on set, where he allegedly berated Baldoni for, quote, fat shaming Lively, his wife, after Baldoni inquired about her weight for a lifting scene. Baldoni's lawsuit against Lively and Reynolds includes claims of defamation, civil extortion, and interference with contractual relations, asserting that Reynolds and Lively tried to seize control of the film and damage Baldoni's reputation. That's what it looks like, by the way. Reynolds and Lively have countered by requesting a gag order on Baldoni's legal team, always a good sign, claiming they've engaged in a retaliatory media campaign. The public and legal discourse around this issue is polarized, with each side presenting evidence to support their narrative, including text messages, emails, and the aforementioned footage. And I have like a new bit of footage that came out from Baldoni's lawyer. I want to show here. So let me try to enlarge this. This is on Megyn Kelly's YouTube channel. So fair use, Megyn Kelly, if you don't mind. Here we go.
We have here exclusively Justin Baldoni speaking to what he called his dream team, those who had been helping him edit the films and get it to finality, lamenting the fact that he was put in the basement on the premiere of his own movie, he says, per Blake's demands. Take a listen to that voice text in part.
Think about this. On what, could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise, I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast. So they ushered me off the carpet and they sent us down to the basement. We were down there together, my friends and family, the people that love me the most, and we start laughing because of the ridiculousness of this whole thing. And I realized, on a night that was supposed to be so materialistically joyful, I was in the basement with the people that I love the most, and we were all joyful and laughing because none of that shit matters. None of it. That's not why we're in the business. That's not why the three of us are in this business, is to attend a premiere like that and be celebrated. We're in this business because we're artists and we believe in what we do, and because we want to create art that touches people's hearts and souls and can move people. And that's what we did. That's what you both did. And I believe that will follow each of us, and that truth will prevail, and that light and love will win.
Ugh. Anyway, so what seems to be going on here is, oh, and Hannah's here, by the way. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you just
Okay.
fine.
Just wanted to get the sound check out of the way.
No, it's fine. Thank you for doing that. So, what it seems that happened? Yes, all these people are gross. I get it. Like I'm not necessarily taking a side of these people based on their personality, but these people had a professional relationship. There's a video clip that shows it, but because there was an opportunity for Blake Lively to exploit this, she wanted to take full credit for the film. She claimed to have written the scene. Ryan Reynolds, even who is Blake Lively's husband, told everybody that she did all the work and that she's this genius and everything. So you have this clash of egos, and this guy who was just trying to do as good a job, I guess, as he can, saw this as a good opportunity, was kind of thrown under the bus, and she made allegations against him, and his lawyer is fighting back, and it just sounds like a lot of shady shit is going on. And it turned out, this is something we learned today, she didn't even write the scene that she's taking credit for. Ryan Reynolds wrote it, and he just said that she did it. So this is all kinds of male feminist caping for women type stuff. So,
and
but
none of this sounds like stuff that actors don't normally have to do. It's okay. So I try to avoid the cliche of starting an argument with, as a ... as a woman, as a black or indigenous person of color. But this is a rare occasion where I think I can make it work from an informative perspective. As a theater kid,
okay. ...
And yes, I have a single honors bachelor's degree in drama, for those who didn't know. And I can confirm that the way theatrical academia works is exactly as pointless and pretentious and lovey-dovey as you stereotypically could possibly satirize it as being. It's all about breaking the boundaries of ordinary interactions. It's about thinking outside your instinctive inhibitions. Much like a musician can improvise a song, an actor needs to be able to improvise a whole other human being, to improvise the behavior of a character who is wholly unlike yourself. And so they do these gay exercises where you act like a tree, act like an animal, act like the second order abstraction of the demon of capitalism, and so on. I remember one lesson in my first semester. They said to us, okay, so next week you're gonna come into class basically cross-dressed. All right. If you're a man,
Mhm.
dress as a woman. If you're a woman, dress as a man. If you're a woman who usually dresses in a masculine way, come in dressed in a feminine way, vice versa, and so on. They already had all this shit laid out, right? And like the first exercise when we came in was to just mill about amongst each other, delicately whispering whatever our favorite thing was about how one another looks. Like you just go up and say your hair or your dress or
Mhm.
whatever, and then you move on. It was really fucking weird. Like, and this was in 2001, I think, early 2001, and it didn't even seem all that unusual at the time because yes, there was already an unavoidable avalanche of feminist bullshit all across the syllabus in universities all across the world at the time. It was very difficult to sidestep it with your elective modules, wheresoever your degree might find itself. Even the science departments, like you couldn't quite get away from it. Never mind the fucking drama department. Before you ask, no, I did not make any effort to cross dress that day. I just went in wearing eye makeup. I got my girlfriend to do my eyes up like how girls do their eyes up with the mascara and the whatever. So of course, all that anyone said to me was your eyes. Okay, good. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah. Other than that, I just wore, a gaudy zebra patterned silk shirt and just normal trousers. I will go as far as looking like a glam rock star from the 80s, but I'm not wearing a dress. I'm not wearing a skirt. I don't know what it is. I'm just not. I'm just no. Yes, I'm sure it does feel sort of freeing to wear a dress or a skirt, but I suppose I don't feel like feeling quite as free as that.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's ironic that men tend to politically prefer freedom over safety, while women prefer safety over freedom. Yet we dress in a way that would seem to invert such preferences. But it makes sense when you think about it because there's a point of inversion. Women want to feel safe so they can dress like they're free. Men want to feel free so they can dress like they're safe. Does that make you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my head that sounded like a quotable quote, but I guess you can find it whatever. But as I understand it, we are now at the point where male theater kids are being me too'd
Well, yes.
for doing what they're trained to do, like
Yeah. Exactly.
improvising within a character. Well, I
Yeah.
can't say I'm surprised. Police officers are being imprisoned for doing what they're trained to do. I'm amazed it's taken this long for the drama club fairies to feel that same fiery wrath of Cthulhu that the police have been experiencing for some time. We were among the first people to summon the aforementioned Dark Lord, even though we are unimportant midwit sponges to a man, each and every one of us. We theater kids had no idea what we were doing, but we accidentally summoned Cthulhu. I think that's why I'm here, folks.
Yeah.
Like how most male feminists are trying to repent for the sins of their past sex pesting and indeed their ongoing sex pesting. Well, I attended university where I studied drama, and ever since then I've felt guilty that I've wasted everybody's time contributing to an industry that takes kids' brains and shakes them up like a snow globe, just so that everyone can end up gossiping about a couple of Hollywood starlets gossiping among themselves about each other. And now I'm gossiping about that to the next order of magnitude. But I like to think that at some point I've fundamentally avoided that subject for this entire rant and substituted my own.
I want
look
to
forward
add
to doing it again.
I want to add some more weirdness to the story. So, like, let's just sum it up, okay? So, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are making this movie called It Ends With Us. It's like a romance based on a book or something written by a feminist. And there's like feminism's kind of floating around the whole thing. And Baldoni is a male feminist, and Blake Lively at least claims to be a feminist. I assume she is, because it's Hollywood, and that's really the only way. That's the bare minimum to get work there, right? And Blake Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, is completely like on her side in all of this. She claims that Baldoni like overstepped some boundary. He's also, I guess, it's like somewhat younger than her. And she's like getting close to the wall. So this is like affecting her self-esteem. And this is why she claims that he called her fat and all this other stuff. And apparently when this scene happened, maybe that was, just kind of, what is it? The ad-libbed or whatever. Like he just said that to like enhance the romance of the scene.
Have you seen this? Have you watched this?
Yeah. I can find it. I mean, if you guys want to see it, but it's,
there's more to it than what you just said. It's not just that it was ad-libbed. She initiated going off script. She initiated.
So you know about this, okay?
I started seeing this on Twitter, on X. When it started. And so I went and looked for the information because I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to be another Depp Heard situation. We're going to talk about this a lot. So I better know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So I watched a few commentators, and there's this one woman I watched on YouTube who actually is a casting director or whatever. She used to do casting. She did casting for some big studios, and like the millennials and Zoomers will recognize she did some work with a show called The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, which was on when my kid was little. My kids were little, and my son used to watch occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm familiar with its existence. So I thought, well, her input's going to be interesting because she works with these kind of people, right? And her take was interesting in that, she's explaining what Mike explained, that this is pretty normal fare. It's very tame stuff for actors. And it's not normal, though, for an actor to come in and take over the movie and completely rewrite everything and insist things be done a certain way. That's a problem actor. That's not like your usual. Usually it's your job to go in there and do what the director says. Right. And he's the director.
Yeah.
So
Baldoni it's his movie. Yes.
Right. It's his movie. So for her to be insisting that, I think we should be talking this and that, that's her demanding changes that are going to make her feel more featured. So once I saw that, and I heard her talking about how abnormal this is, and saw that she had initiated it and everything. And, she even said something about, what he's being accused of would be out of character for the guy that she's met him, and it didn't seem like him. Right. So this is a publicity stunt. I'm calling it.
Oh,
this is not Depp Heard. This is not an incident of sexual harassment. This is 3 actors play acting a controversy. Because who the fuck heard of this movie before this happened?
Mm-hmm.
Any of the 3 of us? Did you know this movie was coming out? Because I didn't. I never heard of it.
Mm-hmm. It could be. Yeah, I mean, that's entirely plausible. But I think that, like, again, if these allegations are flying around, I mean, that's a good reason to pay attention. But yeah, I mean, there was.
But now we've gotten to the point where Me Tooing somebody is being used as a publicity stunt to promote a movie. Because that's what's happening here. I am 100% convinced. I have zero doubt that this is all fake.
Possible. I did get a super chow. I'm going to read it really quick from Meredith G. She is providing a little bit more info. And then I want to show some of the stuff that was really weird about it regarding Ryan Reynolds and his involvement. But Meredith G gives us $5 and says, HBR News 47, the lawyer that Megyn Kelly is interviewing was her attorney when she was fired from NBC, getting her a $60 million payout. Some context, Lively has been trying for years to build a career to equal her husband's, Ryan Reynolds, and she has never been able to do it. The film is an adaptation of a book that is part of a series, and Baldoni owns the movie rights through his production company. And Apparently when this was going on, she was like, there was something about an intimacy coordinator. So, they have on sets for television
Yeah,
and
they use
movies.
those for sex scenes and makeout scenes when
Yeah.
it's to help coordinate between what the actors are doing and what the camera sees so that it actually looks good on film and everybody's comfortable and nobody has a problem.
Yeah, and I guess for this one, she was complaining that there wasn't one, or he was. I'm not really sure, but
She was, but it wasn't supposed to be the scene that it ended up being because like
mhm.
she went through and started like she made that change of talking and everything. The speech that she complained about, she apologized for her makeup and her it was body makeup. And that's why he said it smells good. Like just a offhand comment, well, it smells good, at least it's not a problem. It just smells good.
Yeah,
And that's not anywhere near the same as him engaging in an overtly sexual behavior and then going, it smells good. Very different from what she's describing. Like,
yeah.
and it with the, there being voice and everything, like I seriously, I don't believe any of this is real or spur of the moment, or I don't know that, maybe it got out of hand, people taking sides and everything, but I genuinely believe that
Well,
this
why
is
are
something that
there?
they
Because
played
there's
out together.
Yeah, but there are defamation suits and stuff now. So are they
Yep,
just going to throw those
there's
out? I
probably
mean,
gonna be settlements,
yeah, I
and
think
they're,
that's what I was going to say. There are going to court over this. And another thing, okay, so there's a in the
maybe he's
movie
not in on it. Maybe it's just her and Reynolds trying to boost her career. But
that
this
I
wasn't
wouldn't be
something that
surprised.
she did because she felt sexually harassed. It
Yeah.
wasn't something that she
Oh,
did
of course
because she
not.
thought he was creepy. It's something that
No.
she did because it put the movie and her name in the news.
I agree. No, I think that's right. I think she created a controversy to boost her career. It was Baldoni's project. He was producing and he was involved with making it, and she kind of hijacked some stuff, and there was a scene, I think it's that scene that Ryan Reynolds, because he's trying to boost his wife's career too, and I'll show you some more evidence for that in a second. Um Ryan Reynolds was crediting her for writing a scene that it later turned out he wrote, and he
Mhm.
credited but anyway, but there's another thing. So Ryan Reynolds had a runaway hit earlier last year called Deadpool and Wolverine. You may have heard of it, and he made some references to Blake Lively, so in that movie. So this is yeah, I know I'm citing BuzzFeed as crazy, but they have the info. So there's a scene in the movie where they meet an alternate universe Deadpool named Nice Pool, and he says this. He says, did you see Lady Pool? She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and you can't even tell. By the way, Blake Lively also had a child. They had a baby recently, and she would breastfeed it while she was making this movie. And so he's complimenting her looks because Lady Pool, who is here, is played by Blake Lively, even though you don't see her face. So he put her in his movie, and then he gassed her up in the movie, and then he talked about how well she's carries herself after the pregnancy. And then she says, when Deadpool calls him out for the comment, Nice Pool replies, "That's okay. I identify as a feminist." At another point, Deadpool says, "Where in God's name is the intimacy coordinator?" So there's this like weird like passive aggressive stuff going on too in this other movie, and I thought that was a weird scene too. I was like, what is this conversation? When I saw
Yeah.
that, because like Blake Lively was accusing Justin Baldoni of making inappropriate and sexual comments about her postpartum body and weight, and the lawsuit also accuses Justin of improvising sexual moments without an intimacy coordinator, which of course turned out she was the one doing that.
Right.
So,
Right. And given the fact that the claim she made about the comment regarding the scent of the makeup
mhm.
was completely detached, like completely nothing like what actually happened. I have my doubts about the weight thing too, because I mean it was a lifting scene. He had to lift her.
Yeah.
It's not It's not unfair to ask someone before you lift them up, how much weight am I picking up? If you're trying to lift a person and you think somebody weighs less than they actually do, you can injure both of you, yourself and the person you're lifting, very badly. And it doesn't, believe it or not, for like a head injury or a back injury, you don't have to fall 20 or 30 feet to get hurt very badly. You can actually fall just 2, 3 or 4 feet and get hurt very badly if you hit something when you're falling, if you land wrong, if there's a few different things that can happen that can cause very serious back injuries, very serious neck injuries, and very dangerous or lasting head injuries. So if you're lifting someone, you do need to be careful. And in fact, it is important to know if somebody maybe weighs more than they look. And a lot of women, after they have had a baby, will start an exercise routine, and they will turn what was fat that they put on during the pregnancy into muscle doing that exercise routine. And so you're going to look thinner, but your weight doesn't go down because muscle is denser than fat and it weighs more than fat. So you can be slimmer looking and actually weigh as much or more as you did when you were pregnant. I did that.
Yeah.
It took me extra time to take the weight off because I turned the fat into muscle. And, like we're talking months and months just to lose an extra 30 pounds, because before I started taking off the more solid fat that wasn't cellulite, I burned through all that cellulite and built up as many pounds in muscle as I took off in cellulite. And if somebody had tried to lift me, and maybe they lifted me when I was pregnant, they would have expected me to be lighter than I had been, because they would have looked at me and seen a thinner person, and I would have weighed just as much. So there's a lot to take in here with regard to this case.
Yeah.
But it's pretty obvious that Blake Lively is not she's not acting on any kind of real or compelling cause that she needs to do this because of.
No. So, but we'll see where the lawsuit goes. Hopefully this is like not a big old Amber Heard, Johnny Depp thing. But it's worth, like I said, looking at, because again, we're seeing how these movements can be exploited. And I know this is like celebrity, kind of gross stuff, but I mean, it's still, it's culturally relevant, kind of like the Neil Gaiman thing. So, but
it's
go ahead.
If it gets dropped, if that lawsuit gets dropped and then he doesn't countersue her, I'm calling it publicity stunt. And what that tells us is that this kind of allegation is no longer really taken seriously when a woman makes it, which is a good thing. It shouldn't be. So
yeah, it's like the boy who cried wolf and then got paid. So by the wolf, but
by the wolf, yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna read a super chat and then we're gonna move on to the next one. Lee Sleepy Aussie gave us $5 and says, "Once I thought you should only simp for your partner, but Ryan Reynolds proves that you shouldn't simp, period." Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you shouldn't simp, period.
No. And Ryan Reynolds, though, was also feeling insecure because he said that he was afraid that she would fall in love with Baldoni, because he fell in love with her on the set of something else. So it's like anyway, that's a separate thing. That's just something he said.
They say you should simp for real queens.
Yeah.
The truth is, real queens don't like simps.
There you go. That's true. All right. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're going to move on to the next story. All right. So, newly inaugurated U.S. President Donald Trump has had quite a busy first week. Unlike Trump's first term, where he had very limited executive orders signed within his first week, new Trump 2.0, Dark Trump, has already signed 28 executive orders since he was inaugurated on January 20th. Trump even signed many of the orders during the inauguration festivities at the Capital One Arena. He was doing them while they were
I
celebrating.
heard it was hundreds.
Well, I don't know.
There's different categories of orders that he was signing.
Yeah.
Because Biden famously signed more EOs in his first day than anyone else before him. But it seems like Trump has done the same thing. And
yes.
I'm
sure that a lot of them are just undoing the last.
You have to think of the future where every new president undoes all the executive orders of the previous president by signing a bunch of new executive orders.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the Constitution is there to allow these things to happen.
But I think that if you basically spend your entire term dismantling the bureaucracy, then there will be less of that. But let me finish the write-up. So anyway, This was by Andrew. Trump has taken several steps to secure the U.S. southern border, including deploying U.S. troops to assist Border Patrol. Trump has also designated drug cartels and other criminal organizations as terrorist organizations in order to fight the influx of illegal and deadly drugs into American towns. Trump has also taken an axe to DEI, completely gutting DEI offices from government agencies, specifically federal government agencies. Trump's executive order highlighted the toxicity and divisiveness of DEI teachings. Trump also signed an executive order to take the U.S. out of the World Health Organization after the failure of the organization to acknowledge the realities of China's role with the Another EO that is facing an expected legal challenge is an EO to end birthright citizenship. Previously, most people born in the U.S. immediately receive U.S. citizenship. This EO is directed at fighting illegal immigrants or others coming to the U.S. and then giving birth, thus giving their children U.S. citizenship. Controversially, Trump also pardoned most of the January 6 rioters that were charged during the 2020 Capitol riots. Many people charged in the January 6 riots were convicted of nonviolent offenses like trespassing, maybe property damage, but several were convicted of violent offenses, about 24. Trump's pardon extended to both groups of people because they were basically in jail without trial for about 5 years. And one of those people is Enrique Tarrio, who is now free, and he's been doing the rounds. And apparently, this was something I was going to mention too. Enrique Tarrio and other J6ers that were being held said that they were approached by like the Justice Department, and the Justice Department was trying to offer them a deal if they would essentially say Trump was responsible for, the attack on the Capitol, and essentially to tarnish his reputation. And they resoundingly said no, they weren't going to do that. The Proud Boys is back in action, and I believe there was one other thing too about this I wanted to point out. Oh yeah, so there is he's going to be releasing, this is crazy. He wants the files on the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy Sr., John F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King, and they have like 45 days to get all of that out. I don't know. I mean, apparently it's being done, but I don't know how much of that, when we're going to learn more about that. And also the January 6th committee, which was basically the people who were supposed to be investigating the attack on the Capitol, the insurrection. They're also going to be investigated because, they were operating under false pretenses. They did a lot of really fucked up shit, and we're going to look into what it is that they did. And the reason why I wanted to pick this story was not just because I wanted to highlight all the stuff that he's been doing that's good. Oh, by the way, the Gulf of Mexico is officially now the Gulf of America. But it's official. But the reason why I wanted to point this out is because, again, I said this before, like, I was really, like, I was on my way out the door to go to the Capitol on January 6th. And if I had gone, I could have been in jail until like yesterday or whatever. So I almost was a part of this whole mess. And I mean, Lindsay begging me not to go and me finally like saying, okay, I won't go, might have saved like both of us, because if I'd ended up in jail for 5 years, I don't know how she would have managed without me. And I don't know how I would have managed. So just saying, this is why this particular story, the J6 thing, is something that I have to talk about because I was ready to go. Like, you know, so. Oh, and there was something else too I wanted to say that I want to mention right now. Hold on a second. I learned that the press secretary is opening up. So like the press secretary sees the media, right? They put out, you know, they do Q&As and all of that. But this time around, Trump wants the press, the press secretary, to have spaces for what they call new media. Do you know what new media is? It's us. It's anybody who wants to. They can like fill out a form and make a request, and they can go up to Washington, D.C. and talk directly to the press secretary. So Lindsay and I were like, because I'm only like 4 hours away, a little bit less. So I could definitely go up there I mean, I don't know how it works, like if I have to get vetted or whatever, but it's such a great opportunity because I could literally go up there and talk about men's issues, and I'm close too. So just saying, this is huge, as it were. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. So go ahead. I give you the floor.
Well, this is a men's issue, and I know that there were men and women involved, both. But this is where a men's issue affects women. You know, sometimes. Basically, it affects men all the time. It affects women sometimes, and that is the normalization of the removal of due process. If people think that there is a reason for that removal that they approve. And for over a century in the United States, the reason that has been the most often used to take away somebody's due process rights with impunity for the state and anyone involved in removing the due process rights has been gynocentrism. You know, it's going to benefit a woman to take away this man's due process rights, or where he's accused of harming a woman, therefore he doesn't deserve due process rights. We don't have to find out if it's the truth because there's a woman's tears involved, right? So this time it's not that reason, but because it has been so normalized for so long, people have been primed to accept this idea. Well, we don't have to find out if these people were actually guilty, right? Because we have a nation's tears. We have the liberal tears of these people had the audacity to step up and protest and say they disapproved of the decision that we're claiming the American people made. We can't have the American people contradicting us on this. You're making this look bad. We're going to put you in the slammer for a while. And if it had not been normalized during the last century that a woman's tears are an acceptable reason, right, to take away somebody's due process rights, to say they can't submit exculpatory evidence when they're on trial, to presume them guilty unless they prove themselves innocent, to deny their right to a speedy trial and all that. Like as long as that's normalized, you will see this kind of behavior getting worse and worse in the court system under more and more ridiculous circumstances where there's obviously not even a reason to make the mistake of thinking that someone's due process rights are not sacred. And that's what we saw with this case.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is good. This is a step toward people recognizing that you can't take reasons that you like and say, well, we're gonna compromise this civil right that is based on a human right, because we don't like what might happen if the person that we're accusing proves their case. Right. That's basically what's going on here.
Yeah, I wanted to show you guys a clip of the press secretary saying this, and then I'll get Mike's thoughts. But this is the thing I wanted to add on as well.
Strongly in the First Amendment. So it's why our team will work diligently to restore the press passes of the 440 journalists whose passes were wrongly revoked by the previous administration. We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House. And you can apply now on our new website, whitehouse.gov/new media.
So there you go. They're opening up to new media. Have a criticism? Go to the thing. Call them names, whatever. Challenge them. Challenge the administration. This is like whatever you think about Trump, set that aside for a second. This is unprecedented. He's letting anybody who is a journalist, a podcaster, or a content creator, they can all go to these press briefings and ask questions. So when there's already been so I think that's amazing. And he's restoring the ability for media that I guess has been excluded before by the previous administration. Most likely it's, right-leaning stuff. But this is big. So anyway, I just wanted to add that on to the list. It's not an EO, but it is a very welcome thing, because the truth is that legacy media is dying. So we should let other people, get in there. So anyway.
Well, something else is that the truth about media in regard to men's issues is that there's not going to be any legacy or establishment media that's going to give us a fair shake. They may have their angle of our issues, and the left is going to have their angle and the right's going to have their angle. But when it comes down to actually advocating for change to restore equal treatment under the law for men, you're not going to get that from the establishment media. You're not going to get that from the legacy media. So without having that ability for some alternative media to get in, you're pretty much unable to interact media-wise with the White House. So it's kind of neat to see them. It is unprecedented. It's also really kind of neat to see this change, because it does create an opportunity for media outlets that will cover men's issues from a neutral perspective, an unbiased perspective, to actually get in and ask questions.
All right, Mike, do you have any thoughts?
I do.
Okay.
Regarding the idea of birthright citizenship, which seems to be one of the hubs of political controversy surrounding this story, it's really not all that revolutionary a concept. Basically, every country in the world falls into one of two camps. Either you get citizenship if your parents have citizenship, regardless of where you were born, or you get citizenship just because you were born in that country, regardless of your parents' nationality. For the sake of brevity, we can label these as blood and soil, retrospectively, you must understand. And if you look at it on a map, you notice the distinction is mostly drawn down the Atlantic Ocean. In the Eastern Hemisphere, including Europe, it's mostly about blood. It's about your parents. Whereas in the Western Hemisphere, in the Americas, it's almost exclusively about the geographic location of your birth. And you can see why. It's the divide between the New World and the Old World. If we're in the New World and it's about parents, we can only trace it back so far before we're back in the Old World. So if we don't allow citizenship by soil in that instance, that there will hardly be any citizenship at all. The reason this works in Europe and indeed in Africa and Asia is because we've been there for thousands of years before the notion of citizenship even existed on a political level. We were already able to trace our family tree back to before records began. So it was never an issue. So it's a question of how old can the new world get before it gets the status of an old world? How old does this grandfather have to be before we can get it in on a grandfather clause? And I'm not going to lie, I think 250 years is reasonable. I think if you've had a country established for 250 years thereabouts, you've got enough of a backstory. You've got enough of a stronghold to be able to distinguish blood from soil and to have established what we call blood. In Britain, we like to distinguish English blood and Scottish blood and Welsh blood and whatnot. And obviously, we don't mean blood literally. Genetically, there's almost no difference between any of us. But culturally, there is an important difference. It just takes a long time for culture to out-prioritize land, or indeed blood. But I think America is finally there. I think it's finally getting there in this, its golden age, its second or perhaps third or fourth golden age. And by America, I mean the Americas. Let us not forget the counter-revolution we're experiencing started at the southern tip of South America with your boy Javier Milei. To that, we'll raise a glass and say, afuera! In every language we can muster. And then we say, amen, in any language we can master. There it is. Feels good, man. Fucking feels good.
I had to wait for my thing to start up.
No, that's me done. I was hoping you would punctuate.
Oh, yeah.
With a good old afuera.
We did it. Okay. So let us know what you guys think about this. What do you guys think about this? The press opening up its doors for basically anybody to try and sign up. Anybody who makes content online. Let me know. I think it's great. It's very revolutionary. There's a lot of very revolutionary things going on. I mean, like ending the income tax. He's like at war with the IRS right now. So let's fucking go. All right. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. Let's move on to the next story. So this one, a little bit of backstory before I get into it. Okay. So I heard last night that there was actually like gunfire between Border Patrol and cartels on the border. And people were, like I heard that there was actually like fighting going on the southern border between the cartels south of the border and the Border Patrol. And I thought, holy shit, it's getting real. And I made it a story and I asked, whoever was going to take it to look into it just to confirm, because this was just breaking, right? And Mike J took it and said he couldn't find anything, and there's nothing that can confirm it, so we don't know. It could be true, but it may not have been reported yet. It may have not gone to the mainstream. We don't know. So, but he did find something else that it put him down a different rabbit hole, because there was some shooting that was going on. Essentially, we're going to look at this, okay? This is going to be a little bit crazy. This is on some BX type stuff. You guys know, I used to have BX on my show a couple times. It's this woman who's sort of a Second Amendment advocate that researches like radical, Satanist groups that go into incel forums and try to push people to suicide or push people to do terror attacks and whatnot. So I figured it was relevant because it's about, men. But anyway, so this is what Mike J uncovered, okay? And it's kind of long, but I think it's interesting. So Mike J, he says, the Inauguration Day murder of a U.S. Border Patrol officer in Vermont has been linked to 2 other violent incidents, which are all seemingly linked to a violent cult. The first incident, which occurred on January the 20th, started as a routine immigration inspection in Lyndonville, Vermont. During a traffic stop, one of the individuals, Teresa Milo Consuelo Youngblood, drew a handgun and fired upon one of the border control agents. The other individual, Felix Ophelia Buckholt, attempted to draw their handgun but was stopped when another Border Patrol agent returned fire on the two. Buckholt was pronounced dead at the scene, while Youngblood and the Border Patrol agent, later identified as Air Force veteran David Maland, would be taken to nearby medical centers for treatment. Maland would later die. Youngblood would later be charged with, quote, intentional use of a deadly weapon while forcibly assaulting or interfering with federal law enforcement and use and discharge of a firearm during and in relation to an assault with a deadly weapon, end quote. Looking deeper into the two assailants, Bockholt was a German national and award-winning youth math genius who was staying in the U.S. on a visa. Bockholt was also a biological male who identified as transgender. Youngblood, who was born biologically female but also identified as transgender, had been reported missing by her family since May of last year. Her family said she cut off all contact with them after entering what they described as an abusive and controlling relationship. Youngblood's Blue Sky social media account, of course it's Blue Sky, displays her fascination with Antifa and other prominent far-left groups. Both individuals had been under law enforcement surveillance for at least a week prior to the incidents. Staff at a motel they were staying at reported that the couple were acting strange and were spotted wearing black tactical clothing, tactical is what we call it, militia-style protective gear, and were carrying firearms. When questioned by police, they claimed they were looking to buy property in the area. After the shooting, police searched their car and recovered 2 handguns, multiple firearm magazines, dozens of loose rounds of ammunition, shooting targets, 2-way radios, and a dozen electronic devices, some of which were wrapped in aluminum foil. The 2 handguns which the couple possessed can, through court records, be traced to an unnamed individual that is a person of interest in an ongoing criminal investigation into the double homicide of an elderly couple in the Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Both Richard Zajko and his wife Rita Zajko were brutally murdered on January 2nd of 2023 at their home in Pennsylvania. Police are still investigating the homicide and have said that they are investigating a person of interest, but the individual has not been named by police. The last incident involves a brutal attack and eventual murder of one Curtis Lind. Lind was a property owner in the area of Vallejo, California. In mid-November of 2022, he was injured in a violent dispute concerning rental payment with a group of tenants staying on his property. The dispute turned violent when the group attacked him, beating him and later impaling him with a samurai sword. Lind, who was armed, fired upon the group, hitting 2 of them. One of those injured, Emma Boranian, would later die in the hospital. 2 of the group members, Suri Dao and Alexander Jeffrey Latham, would later be arrested and charged with murder, attempted murder, and aggravated mayhem for the death of their companion, Boranian, and the attempted killing of Lind. Lind would eventually recover, albeit with the loss of his right eye, and he would go on to be the sole witness, no pun intended, to his own attempted homicide. Lind was set to testify at the trial of Dow and Letham in April, but 3 days before the murder of U.S. Border Patrol officer David Maland, Lind would be murdered by a black-clad assailant who stalked him as he walked outside of his property and stabbed him in the neck with a knife. Shortly afterwards, Maximilian Snyder was arrested and charged with murder. Snyder connects back to Youngblood due to public records showing an active marriage license in King County, Washington, between the two. All of these individuals, namely Youngblood, Buckholt, Latham, and the daughter of the murdered couple in Pennsylvania, Michelle Jamie Zajko, can be connected back to one group, Ziz, an offshoot of the rationalist community. Ziz, Z-I-Z, is a cult of personality based around the individual Jack Lasota, or as he is better known as Ziz. One of Buckholt's personal friends, Jessica Taylor, attempted to warn her about the group, labeling it a murder gang. Speaking to a local news outlet, Taylor explained that the group is obsessed with timeless decision theory, which is a rationalist belief suggesting that human decisions and their effects are mathematically quantifiable. She further explained that the group is obsessed with mathematics, artificial intelligence, veganism, and animal rights, with many in the group having degrees and jobs within related to science and AI backgrounds. Snyder and Youngblood's social media feeds also discuss such things. Postings from the Rationalist Forum website, lesswrong.com, indicate Dow, Latham, and Boranian as associates/members of Ziz, all of whom were arrested in 2019 after protesting together with him in Berkeley, California. While further connections developed between these individuals and this group, Buchholz had her first hearing in court yesterday, with another appearance to be had later this week on Thursday. If convicted, she could be sentenced to life in prison. Okay, that's the write-up. I mean, it's a
that's
trans
a lot.
vegan cult. So yeah. Ziz, Z-I-Z, that's right.
And this came out of the rationalist community, which is the community that also spawned, what did they call them? Skeptics.
Oh, really? Like Rebecca?
Yeah,
what the hell's her name? Rebecca Watson?
Or Rebecca Watson and those. Now, that doesn't associate her with this cult.
No.
But that it's the rationalist.
I don't know what the rationalist cult is. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, like the rationalist, skeptic, atheist, like blob, I guess I would call it, because there's a lot of differences of opinion within that group, that large group, about what is rational and what is irrational, what is religious and what is not religious. Because I consider feminism to be religious, but the skeptic community considered feminism to be given, and anti-feminism to be religious, like tradcon kind of religious. And so there's different beliefs in that community that are presented as if they are proven facts or vetted ideas, when in fact they're still just beliefs. But one of the interesting things that I've noted in regard to that is people go down these rabbit holes about, this is the most logical, or this is the most rational, or whatever. And especially when you get into attributing things to math instead of using math. Math is a language, it's a tool, it's a way of understanding quantities. That's all it is. And you can measure quantities, you can figure out how quantities interact with each other and what happens as a result. But it isn't spiritual. Math is physical. And it's not magic, it's logic. And so when you start taking something like that and spiritualizing it and treating it as if manipulating it allows you to manipulate spiritual energy, or there's some deep, dark secrets in it that will give you some sort of spiritual power, as opposed to just understanding how things around you operate, you end up in a situation where you can drive yourself crazy. And I've seen people do it. It's not even a new phenomenon. People have been doing this for centuries. It's interesting that they went after Border Patrol agent. And obviously it's if there was a conflict and it occurred in the midst of the conflict, then there must be something else going on. But
so the Zizians, these Zizians are a vegan, transgender, atheist, rationalist cult.
So everything that you just described is irrational behavior. The idea that you should take an omnivorous species and exclude from the omnivore diet that this species has consumed for centuries the best sources of protein, omega-6 proteins, like that's stupid, right? That's not rational, and it's not better nutrition. Most of the reasons that people have for becoming vegan are emotional appeals, right? They're about how they feel about animals. Similarly with the trans stuff, gender dysphoria is the dysfunction in it is fueled by emotion. Just like depression, the dysfunction in that is fueled by emotion. bipolar disorder. The dysfunction in that is fueled by emotion. The pain and suffering that you have from those mental health conditions are fueled by emotion. They're not rational. And, identifying with these things isn't necessarily rational. I'm not saying that it's wrong to have gender dysphoria or be trans or decide that you're going to eat and everything except animals. Every living thing that exists except animals, right? But it's not rational. So when they decide to call it rational, this is one of the problems, right, with the woke. They're attributing rationality and rightness and morality to things that aren't rational. They're not. It being a vegan or vegetarian or anything like that, it's morally neutral.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're not imposing it on somebody else. It's a morally neutral act. And similarly, until you start engaging in imposition on other people, being trans is a morally neutral act. It doesn't matter if you decide, it matters to you, obviously. And other people who care about you will have opinions about it one way or another. But it doesn't affect other people if you're trans.
Yeah.
All right. So none of this is a big deal.
Apparently, these Zizians or Zizians, they have a very high rate of homicide and suicide,
right?
Which is
it's
not rational.
Right? So I don't know. I guess the thing that I would say about this is just like any other group of people, when they start advertising themselves to you as above other groups, like this religion is better than every other group. This is the way, and you can't have spiritual success without this religion or this belief or this whatever. You have to go to this specific church. You have to talk to these specific people. You have to sing these specific songs. And all that. You should start asking a lot of questions about that. About how rational are these people in their beliefs? Because there's something wrong, generally speaking. It's like if it sounds too crazy to be true, if it sounds too good to be true, if it sounds too nice to be true, or if they have to add something to skeptic or rationalist in order to describe themselves, if they have to add a modifier, then it's no longer what they say it is. Just like if you have to add a modifier to justice, social justice, right? It's no longer justice.
Of course, yeah.
So these people got caught up in a cult because of their woke ideals that they tried to rebrand as rational, and this is the result. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mike? Nothing? He might be.
Yeah, no, nothing.
Okay.
I agree with everything.
Yeah, it's wild. It's just a wild story. And again, kind of like added on last minute. So, but let me know what you guys think. I never heard of any of this, and now I'm like kind of want to know more about this crazy rabbit hole of the Zizians.
I wonder how many of the people who joined this cult grew up without dads.
Oh, dude. I know. I thought about that too, but I can't. I would speculate, but I mean, I think we have I'm pretty sure that was a problem. There was definitely problems at home, and it probably has something to do with absentee fathers for sure.
Well, it's just, this is the kind of thing that my dad would have armed me against. When I was growing up, like, why aren't you asking some questions about what's really going on there? Because this is obviously nuts. What
maybe they should have just gotten into Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or something.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, if your dad would not like you being a part of something, you might want to ask some questions. What's the hell is this really about? What's the benefit of being part of this?
No, for sure, I agree. It's well, again, it's the desire to feel like you belong. That's where a lot of these people get swept up in various like, movements
Yeah.
and whatnot. So,
That's
but
the other thing. If you're having so much trouble finding a place to belong that you have to join a cult,
yeah,
maybe seek help instead.
for sure. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Okay, last one. It's a bit of good news, or potentially good news. So I know there's no image. It's kind of boring to look at, but I'll just sum it up. Okay. Um, a group called Intaction, which is basically a group of intactivists, they announced today that the New Hampshire legislature is allowing public comment on a bill that's been put forward. Okay. And I'll read the letter. This is the public comment to the New Hampshire public. I am contacting you about a bill we have pending before the New Hampshire House of Health and Human Services and Elderly Affairs Committee. The State House Health Committee is accepting written public comment on whether they should stop using Medicaid to pay for infant circumcision. There is presently a bill, HB 94, being debated that would stop insurance payments for the practice of infant circumcision. You do not need to be a resident of New Hampshire to offer a public comment. You can just click support. So blah, blah, blah. So there's been a bill put forward. The hearing is going to be on the 29th of this month. So that is tomorrow at 1 p.m. To submit a public comment, click on, there's a link. I can put it in the description. You can find it actually in the Patreon page for this story, for this today's show. There's a link, and then you can go to the link in there. So yeah, it looks like so what does this mean? So if this bill passes, essentially what it's going to say is that Medicaid will not cover circumcision. Now, is that a ban on circumcision? No, but shut up for a minute, because these things don't happen overnight. But it does mean that it's not going to be covered by insurance. So there is at least a recognition, if this goes through, that circumcision should not be normalized to that degree. So anyway, I think it's good overall. So what do you guys think?
Well, for one thing, Medicaid shouldn't be covering circumcision, because Medicaid shouldn't be covering anything outside of disability payments, like disability treatments. But and obviously having a penis is not a disability. Feminists can say it is, but there shouldn't be a welfare department outside of any assistance for people with disabilities, and that should only be covered long enough to get it back into the private sector, which does a better job than the government. But as far as the men's issues perspective is concerned, there is no benefit to having Medicare or Medicaid or any other government insurance promoting by coverage this procedure. The procedure doesn't benefit the patient. It does damage. It causes emotional trauma. It causes physical trauma. It leaves a scar. Actually leaves quite a bit of scarring. And it causes...
Could lead to complications. I mean,
right? Yeah, it causes... It's a loss of functional tissue that actually has a purpose, and it causes that purpose to not be served. So you end up with health problems afterward. And in addition to that, the lies that have been used to promote this procedure cause behavior that is careless, because the individual thinks that he is protected in a way that he is not protected, and that can put people at risk. There have been studies in the same areas where they did the fake studies that they came out and said, circumcision protects against certain STIs. They did studies later on, after it was demonstrated that the information in the previous ones was wrong, that the studies weren't real studies, that it actually came out men who have been told that they are protected by this procedure engage in much riskier sexual behavior and have a higher risk of other STIs. And so like herpes, gonorrhea, and by the way, guys, just so you know, there is now a multiple drug resistant, antibiotic resistant gonorrhea out there. So
Mm,
Yeah.
careful where you
No.
put it. I was going to point
Yeah.
out the act. It's an act that they're putting forward. It's called the Children's Body Autonomy Act. And the reason why I think this is a really fantastic thing is not just because of what it does, but what it sets the precedent to do. So this could set a precedent, and there could be more movement towards, at least like having a serious conversation about circumcision. And it really only affects boys. There is no equivalent for girls in the States. So yeah, that's what I think. I think it's good news.
Well, and even if you think there's a good purpose for it, there isn't anything that needs to be done prior to the age of majority when the individual can make that decision for himself.
Mm-hmm.
So,
For sure.
and there's no reason for this to be done to infants at all. It
Yeah.
should just be completely abolished in terms of, but it is very good that the government has stopped. One of the main reasons that this has survived in the United States is because it's so lucrative. You have, first of all, the child's born in the hospital. The hospital does the procedure. They cut off part of your dick and then they charge an arm and a leg,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they keep the tissue that they have removed from your child and they sell it, and your child gets nothing. You pay, and then they sell your child's bodily tissue, and your child gets nothing but trauma. That in and of itself should be criminal.
Yep. All right. Mike, what do you think about this? I know you're vocal about the circumcision thing.
I think anyone who mutilates children should be deported to their country of origin and then executed. Now, that may seem obvious, but there's that bit in the middle of being deported to their country of origin. Take this from someone who lives in a country where the majority of child mutilation is being done by people not of my country. And so it's very difficult to figure out how on earth we could possibly punish them, because we obviously can't deport them. How could we possibly do that? Then they could go on to commit other such heinous crimes of mutilating children's genitals in another country, and we can't let them do that in another country. We've got to let them do that here in this country. But that opens up this whole wasp's nest, this whole can of worms of other ways in which children get mutilated, especially genitally. And we have to ask, well, should we employ capital punishment for them? Should we hang them from the fucking gallows? And I'm like, yes. Everyone who mutilates children's genitals should be strung up from a fucking noose in the public square. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen anytime soon because we're fucked. We're far more likely to see people getting hanged from the gallows for saying, hey, maybe all those foreigners shouldn't be allowed to rape all those native kids. And I thank you, America, for allowing me to say these things. I'm very worried about what's going to happen to me when I finally arrive back in Britain in 2.5 weeks. Because my fellow Lotus Eater, or at least friend of the show, Callum, is currently being detained by
the
anti-terrorist British police, because he recently arrived back in Britain after having spent a long time in the US. I mean, yeah, he's been to Afghanistan. Yes, he's been to Russia. That's probably got a lot to do with it. But
but you're worse. You're in the land of it's MAGA country, so
exactly.
That's like.
And I've been here. I've been here for like 2.5 months.
Enough to be radicalized by our like crazy ideas about freedom.
Yeah,
can't have that.
I'm gonna try and enjoy myself as best I can. In the land of the free for the next 2 weeks before I go back.
Sounds like a lot of vodka.
For all I know, I'm going to be kept in a holding cell for the rest of my life. So, yeah, as of February the 16th, if you don't hear back from me, it's probably because I'm in one of those holding cells, being interrogated, as to how close I am to these right-wing groups, these American right-wing groups, whom we can't possibly tolerate.
Yeah, of course.
In Europe. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I love you so much.
Aw. Thanks, Mike. All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Is this exciting news? Again, you'll find a link to the Patreon page in the description of this video so that you can look at the document yourself. So, all right. So we're going to go into the patron show now because that's all we got. And somehow I got through all of that and it's a little early. So that's kind of exciting. So anyway, so we're going to go now and we're going to talk a little bit about Neil Gaiman and whatever else you guys want to talk about. It really doesn't have to be about this. And if you want to join us, please become a member by going to feedthebadger.com/subscribe and setting up a monthly subscription. $5 a month. It's just the price of a cup of coffee. Will get you into our Discord server and you can experience all of the additional content and all of the community stuff, and there's a great community here and they're always doing things. So, consider doing that. And hopefully I will see you all in the patron show. With all that said, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.